Nobody likes to have a difficult conversation. It's why they're called difficult conversations, but they have to happen. I've had to have them at different points in my career, whether it's talking to someone on my team who's not really pulling their weight. Sometimes it was a layoff, or unfortunately, sometimes, you have to let somebody go in another way. There's all sorts of difficult discussions. So whether it's with your spouse, a friend, your child, or someone in a professional situation, there are ways that you have to go about having these conversations in order for you to get through it with lower stress and come out clean on the other side. That is the topic of today's YouTube episode.
Guild coaching. More success, less stress.
The first step in making sure that you are prepared to have a difficult discussion or conversation is that you have to plan it. Start at the end. I tell clients that all the time, whether it's coming up with a goal, making a plan, anything of that sort. Start at the end result. What is the end result that you want? Obviously, you want to feel good at the end, but what is it that you actually want? And define that end game. Then backwards from there, make a plan on how to get there. It's kind of like planning for a vacation. Say you want to go to Hawaii. I'm on board, I'll pack. But say you want to go to Hawaii, you decide what destination you want before you book all of it. You have to make that end game decision before making the plan to get there. And this is no different. Once you have your plan, if you're nervous about your delivery, practice it. One of the best ways to get the delivery that you want, though it might feel weird at the moment that you're doing it, but one of the best ways to get the delivery that you want is to practice on camera. Looking at yourself and hearing yourself, though your voice is going to sound weird to yourself, looking at yourself and hearing yourself is the best way to see if you're making facial expressions that you don't necessarily want to make, if you're using a tone or a cadence that gives an impression other than the one that you want to give. And if that isn't enough for you, then you can also find somebody who you trust, whether it's a coach or a mentor. I would probably not use just a regular old friend for this, but you can use somebody who understands role play to actually play it out for you so that you're more prepared. Because if you're prepared for this conversation, you're going to be calmer when you get in there, and everything's going to go more smoothly than you had planned. Promise. Now, there are a couple of do not do's that I have for you. Do not play the what if only game. If you are playing the what if only game, that means that two things are happening. Number one, you're not trusting yourself. You are living in the future, which is causing present anxiety. So if you start saying, oh, well, what if this happens when this conversation happens? Or what if that happened? Or if only this conversation wasn't necessary, that means you're living in the past. You can't change what happened in the second before now. You can't unwatch the couple of seconds of this video that you've already watched. So don't think about if only, and don't play forward into what if. Plan for what you want and be certain. If you're ever playing the what if only game, you are in dangerous territory, my friend, and you need to stop. The biggest roadblock here is fear. It is that wondering what is going to happen. It's the unknown. It's the other person in the conversation who may not be prepared. It's their unknown reactions. Will they laugh? Will they cry? Will they get angry? Will they storm out? Will it depress them? Will it break their heart? Will it make them overjoyed? You don't really know that. And so it's the fear of the unknown that really paralyzes you. And so you have to figure out what the worst thing is that could happen. Usually, if you figure out what the worst thing is that could happen, you're going to realize that it's not so bad. So what if the person storms out? So here's what I want you to do, and I really, really mean it. So often I tell you to use a pen and paper. There is power in the pen, I promise. There is power in the pen. Ask yourself, what is the worst thing that could happen here? And write it down, and then look at it. Read it out loud to yourself so you can see, does the monster under the bed that I'm afraid of really have fangs? Or is it not so bad? Is his name Killer? Or is it Harvey? Put your fear in perspective. What is the worst thing that could happen? When you write your fear down, if the worst thing that could happen is unbearable for you, then start asking yourself one question over and over and over again until you get to a palatable result. That question is, so what? So what? What happens then? So what? What's next? So what? So what? I deal with this all the time in mindset coaching. People come to me and they have fears. They're worried about what somebody else said. I just talked to somebody earlier today who was worried about something that someone who was related to her posted on Facebook. It wasn't even her saying it, and she's stressing out over it. So what? So what if people think something of you? How does it impact you really in the long run? If you figure out all those so what or what next, then you'll realize that it doesn't really have long-term lasting damage, and you can do this. So if you follow those do's and do not steps all the way down to the so what, I promise that your next difficult discussion or conversation will go a little bit more smoothly than you've experienced in the past. Check out the video description for a couple of freebies that we've packed in there for you. And before you go, make sure you hit the subscribe button and that little bell to let you know the next time that we post a video that can help you live a life with lower stress and more success. Bye.